Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, a show dedicated to helping you expand your capacity, take your life in every area to an entirely new level, and creating a day and a life by design. Here's your host, Dan Hafner. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Run Your Day podcast for another episode. Dan Hafner here. Welcome back to the show. Today's topic is this: coronavirus and pressure. As always, appreciate you guys joining. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. All right. So, last episode, I talked to you guys about why we're back. A lot of it has to do with this coronavirus stuff. This was kind of the one thing that compelled me to come back and talk to this. I know a lot of people are staying at home. I know a lot of us are pretty scared. Pretty stressed right now, and understandably so. Whether you've been put out of a job because of this, whether you have kids that stay home and are stressing you the hell out, whether your spouse it got sick, or somebody else got sick, or maybe even died from this. Like, there's a lot of upheaval right now, and it's fucking stressful. Like, it's rough, right? And what I wanted to talk about today was this concept of pressure and this constriction, right? When you think about, I heard somebody put it a pretty good way. When you think about the coronavirus, it's almost like it's like a boa constrictor, right? Like how the boa constrictor catches its prey and it slowly and more powerfully squeezes the life out of its prey, right? And it's pretty graphic, but it's nature, and it's true, right? And that's kind of what the coronavirus has done to not only the world, and if you catch it, it works like the flu, right? It constricts your respiratory system, all this stuff. I'm not a doctor. I don't take that with a grain of salt or anything, but it's the same type thing. It's constricted our economies, right? Like, it's constricted all of us by staying home. It's constricted spending. Look what happened to the price of oil dropping and all this stuff. And again, this show's not meant to be political, but it's constricted people's views and people's abilities to produce, and just everything, right? And what that constriction does, do you think about the boa constrictor? The more it constricts, the more pressure there is, right? The more pressure there is on that animal, that prey, whatever it is, the pressure on that body, and it eventually can't resist that pressure anymore, and it gives in, and it suffocates and dies, right? And what I'll submit to you to consider as a possibility in your life, right? Are you succumbing to this coronavirus pressure, whether it's putting economic pressure on you, or health pressure on you, or you watch too much news and it puts that kind of emotional, mental pressure on you, right? Because it's when we try to resist pressure, just like the prey and the boa constrictor analogy, when we try to resist pressure, we spend ourselves a lot quicker, right? If you learn to relax, and you learn to slow down, and you learn to get very, very clear and focused on what you have to do, you can outlast this kind of pressure. Right now, getting away from the boa constrictor thing, obviously, once something's caught up in the pressure of that, they're kind of screwed. But like, this is different, right? We don't have something physically around our neck choking us to death. We have a virus of fear in our minds that's been proliferated by this virus. Like, I'll submit, like I said in the last show, I think the virus of fear is a lot worse than the coronavirus itself. Like, just go out and walk around and go to a store. People are just magnetically, like, avoiding people. Like, you know how you have the opposite, or you have the north and south poles on a magnet, and they'll click right together, but you do the north and the north, and they just kind of repel no matter how close you try to get them. Like, that's how people are. Like, no matter how close you might want to get to somebody at the store in public, we're repelling against each other, like, almost reflexively. And that's fear. That's fear. That's fear that they might have the virus. They might have they might be an asymptomatic carrier. They might not even know that they have it, right? And this has changed our normal for probably forever, but for at least, a long time. And a lot of people talk about, well, we're going to open up back soon. We're going to do all this stuff and that's great. But life itself and the virus of fear is going to take a lot more time for us to work through as a society, right? And without even realizing it, we're putting pressure on ourselves. You're putting pressure on yourself by continuing to think in this way. How do I know? Because I did this for the past like 3 weeks. Like I allowed my mind to succumb to this pressure of, well, the economy's slipping and money's harder to get now, or you know the, there's nobody out and we can't do the things we want to do. I can't go out to a restaurant. I can't go get my hair cut. There's pressure in like figuring out what to do and why we need to even do it in the first place, right? But when you stop and you just think through, like, is this really necessary? Am I really worrying about something that is within my control? Right. And it comes back to the stories we tell ourselves. I've talked about this on the show before because I believe a lot of us are telling these pressure stories to ourselves that are not true. They're simply bullshit. They are. They're simply bullshit. And if you continue to succumb to this type of thinking in your own mind, you're only going to go down the path further and further and further, and there's going to be no coming back for you, right? But that's okay, because what can we do about this, right? What can you do about this as a single individual, right? Breathing exercises, obviously, I think are one of the most key things to relieving stress, relieving pressure, and just recentering yourself. Whether it's just like just like one big deep breath. It's that simple. It takes 2 seconds. It's literally, if you don't take a deep breath during a day, like I notice when I don't and I take a deep breath, like you just feel mentally better, right? And if you do meditation, great. If you don't do meditation, I highly recommend you at least consider it or look into it. It's changed my life, changed my reality. But that's a second thing after breathing, right? Even if you don't want to meditate, like breathing itself can relieve pressure. And I think a lot of people, you see this on the internet a lot. I think a lot of people are learning that, us being forced to be home right now kind of is a blessing in disguise. A lot of us are maybe workaholics, or we don't spend enough time with our loved ones, or we don't prioritize the things in life that we need to be prioritizing. And this forced stay at home measure is kind of allowing us the space to do those things and to get back in the swing of that, which could be divine in nature, right? That could be an actual gift in all of this darkness and all this uncertainty. That could be a gift for that. And that in itself can be enough to relieve some of this pressure. If you really think about it, like some that can be enough to relieve some of this pressure on yourself. Right. And I get it. I know a lot of us, this virus has really exposed, um, how financially stressed a lot of us are. They said, I think almost 75%, like almost three quarters of people, like either live paycheck to paycheck or don't have a significant amount of savings in their accounts to get them through these things. And whether you've got your stimulus check by now or not, um, I get it. Like the pressure of that it is a lot, right? I'm by no means any kind of millionaire or anybody that's up in a white tower mansion just telling you that, hey, you should have done this, you should have done this years ago. I get it. Like we all should have done that. But realizing that now you have a really unique opportunity to change your story and change the way you're putting pressure on yourself and actually relieve that pressure for yourself. Like it's amazing. You can be your own pressure release valve by just breathing and taking extra time to do that. So in conclusion today, my friends, think about this boa constrictor. Think about the analogy that I used and how it's going to help you in that sense. So I got to get going. My dogs are starting to get loud, and you don't want to hear him bark on the show. So that's going to be all. As always, my friends, head over to runyourdaypodcast.com, get more information, more ways to get involved with the show, and we will catch you next time.